I keep my breath still so I'm steady. Keep my eyes fixed on the door. Keep a bullet in the chamber. Keep my feet firm on the floor. I keep the skies high above me. Keep the roads stretch and fall. It keeps my mind from going crazy. Keeps my heart going cold. Just in case it rains. Just in case it rains.
Wallace and Emerson Brown, born in Little Valley, New York in the late 1800s, are determined to begin their own cutlery company. After a number of different ventures, the Brown brothers eventually begin manufacturing and selling knives under the name Union Cutlery Company. The Union Cutlery Company's success does not go unnoticed. In September 1910, the Olean, New York Chamber of Commerce approaches Wallace Brown and asks him to consider moving his cutlery company to Olean. Armed with tax incentives, land, and a building, the chamber makes Wallace an offer he can't refuse.
According to the Olean newspaper, there was a large push to add 50 new businesses to the city of Olean. And I believe they had about 1 week time period to do this. So, as terms of doing this, you had the Union Cutlery move to Olean, but subsequently you also had another company called American Home. Now, further research shows that Union Cutlery and American Home were in the same building, and strangely enough, Wallace Brown was the president of Union Cutlery, Emerson Brown was the president of American Home. And when you dig deeper, Emerson was the vice president of Union Cutlery, and Wallace was the vice president of American Home. Subsequently, another business popped up called the John Brown Sons Company, who was listed was to manufacture straight razors and knives. Basically the same thing Union Cutlery and American Home are already doing, but again, it helped the Olean Chamber of Commerce hit their goal of 50 new businesses, but to say they were different businesses, probably only in name.
By January 1911, the Union Cutlery Company begins to move operations to Olean. Though a skeleton operation remains in Tidioute, the majority of operations are now based in Western New York. The move to Olean proves to be a success, and Union Cutlery knives are used by hunters and outdoorsmen across the country. After a number of years in Olean, Wallace Brown receives a package containing the fur of a Kodiak bear and a letter from an Alaskan hunter thanking the Union Cutlery Company for their outstanding knives.
So the lore passed down to us when we purchased the company was that the K-bar name came from kilobar. The truth was never really totally known until recently. 20 years after we purchased the company, we unearthed a document that we had not found before, and it was a manual written by the grandson of one of the original owners of Union Cut. And in there, it specifically references the letter that was sent in to K-Bar from a trapper, killing a Kodiak bear with his knife once his gun jammed, corroborating the kilobar story.
Inspired by the hunter's story, Wallace combines K.A. for Kodiak and bar for bear to create the name K-Bar. He trademarks the name K-Bar in January 1924. Union Cutlery begins to use the K-Bar name on a wide range of cutlery, particularly hunting knives. The future of the Union Cutlery Company is bright. Wallace has a young son who, despite a wild streak, shows interest in the family business. Richard Danforth Brown was born in 1908. Danforth, as he's known to friends and family, spends his early years learning the ropes of the cutlery industry. During the 1920s, Danforth is sent to 3 different military schools to build discipline and prepare Danforth for his future in the business world. The future comes faster than the Brown family could have ever imagined. In 1924, at the age of 49, Wallace Brown, the founder and driving force of Union Cutlery, passes away. His brother and longtime business partner Emerson assumes the leadership of Union Cutlery. During his time as president of the company, Emerson designs and patents a number of unique knives.
Emerson is credited to many of the patents, the early patents that Ka-Bar made. Knife with a light, knife with a compass. These were things that he owned the patents on in the early 1900s, way before they were ever in vogue. Many of them never took off because they were way too radical for the time, that nobody thought that this was something that he could do. He had the ability to be creative and get out of the box before there even was a box, and really push the boundaries of what manufacturers and product people were doing at the time.
Despite Emerson's best efforts, America is in the midst of the greatest economic depression the United States has ever experienced. American Home, a close affiliate of Union Cutlery, dissolves in July 1928. Union Cutlery sales fall. Although Emerson guides the company through the rocky economic environment, the Brown family suffers another devastating loss when Emerson Brown passes away unexpectedly on February 4, 1934. With his father and uncle gone, Danforth, at age 26, assumes the role of president of the Union Cutlery Company. Danforth is forced to lead a company in a horrific business climate with the weight of his family, the company, and the community on his shoulders.
So you have Wallace and Emerson both dying at a fairly young age and leaving their company in the hands of Danforth Brown, who I believe was in his mid-20s when he's left to run this company. This is in the middle of the Great Depression, starting to get into major military conflicts across the world. I'm sure it was a heavy situation.
As long-standing American companies shutter their operations, Union Cutlery survives the 1930s under young Danforth Brown's guidance.
Danforth Brown led the company through the Great Depression and brought them right up to World War II and had them prepared and on a good footing to prosper.
Surviving the Great Depression allows for expansion in the 1940s. War looms on the horizon. When it comes time to produce combat knives for the U.S. military, Union Cutlery has the skill, equipment, and infrastructure in place to produce and deliver products that contribute to the war effort.
So World War II, and the War Board goes to essentially anybody who can manufacture anything. And whatever your product was that you made, you stopped making, and now you started making products for the war effort. The knife companies, they all made military and war fighting knives.
Union Cutlery is just one of a number of cutlery companies that supplied troops with combat knives. The most famous, the 1219 C2, or USMC Fighting Utility Knife, is designed, refined, and submitted for approval to the U.S. government by USMC Captain Howard America, USMC Colonel John Davis, and Danforth Brown. Danforth decides to use the Ka-Bar trademark on products made for U.S. troops.
Most of the companies that were producing these products, it would have a name on it, their company name, or it could be a town, and say USMC. Ka-Bar was one of the only ones that had a trademark name on it that wasn't their company name.
This collaboration forms the foundation of Ka-Bar's relationship with the United States Armed Forces.
A lot of people, when they see a Ka-Bar, they say, boy, that's quite a fearsome weapon, a pretty amazing knife to use in possibly a hand-to-hand situation in combat. But for most soldiers, it's a utilitarian use. The basic uses of any knife in use in the wilderness and in the woodline. A lot of folks used them for preparing hooches, as we call them, or shelters in the woods. Use them for preparing food, whether it's dressing in field game in the woods or cutting down bamboo shoots. Very many more utilitarian uses actually for the Ka-Bar than actual combat uses.
Union Cutlery isn't the first to produce the 1219 C2, and they don't make the most of the combat knife. But according to troops in the field, they make the best version.
A lot of soldiers and Marines, when they came back from the Pacific, brought their K-bars with them and refused to leave them behind. They brought their knives home, and I think its performance in the Pacific, at places like Tarawa and Peleliu and Iwo Jima and Okinawa, I think its performance there really sealed its reputation for rugged durability and for quality, for high quality knife. And a lot of Marines today swear by them. We talk to Marines, 80, 90-year-old guys that still have their K-bars at home.
Despite the different manufacturers, American troops begin to refer to all fixed-blade style knives as K-bars.
The name has become iconic. The sound of the name, I believe, has made an impression on people. But also, the style of knife is common in World War II in a number of manufacturers, but K-bars knives were the ones especially manufactured here in Olean were much more durable. They were stronger. They were a better knife. I can actually tell you, when I was in Special Forces in the qualification course, you were allowed to take one knife with you for your journey into the wilderness for a week, and most of us picked a K-bar.
In May 1952, Union Cutlery officially changes its name to K-bar.
We changed the name to K-bar because it became so popular after World War II. Union Cut was the company during World War II. So for a brand to become so popular that you change your brand name to it, that's pretty cool.
Due to the uncertainty on how long World War II will last, a surplus of Union Cutlery marked K-bars are made. So many, in fact, that after 1945, another K-bar USMC fighting utility knife will not be made until the 1970s. The surplus K-bars do not sit idle for long. Wars in Korea and Vietnam eventually put the World War II knives back into the hands of American soldiers.
Soldiers in Korea wanted to know what the guys in World War II carried. It's a word of mouth a lot of times. You see Grandpa carried a K-bar in the Pacific. I'm leaving for Afghanistan. What should I carry? And it becomes a family thing. It's a trust issue. And once again, it goes down to quality. People trust that K-bar knife. The brand has been established. People know K-bar, that's quality. They don't have to second guess. They don't have to wonder if it's going to break. They know it's a good knife because, you know what, Grandpa carried one on Iwo Jima. So if it was good enough for Grandpa in the Pacific in World War II, it's good enough for me.
Although K-bar experiences a surge in name recognition, once World War II ends, the demand for fighting knives fades.
For any wartime manufacturer, it was a very hard transition to get back to what they were doing before the war, particularly when they've made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these products. So it was difficult to assimilate themselves back into the civilian marketplace. And the companies that couldn't do it went away. The companies that could flourish, and many of those are still around today.
After decades of stability, Danforth Brown and K-bar face a changing marketplace and once again struggle to keep the company afloat. Just like his father, Danforth Brown is faced with difficult decisions that will impact K-bar forever.
You can hear